My view is that the BRICS are key. Uh, India-China bilateral relations, that's a long, complicated, and sometimes very painful story. I believe that that story should be resolved. But I think the best way for India to resolve it is in the context of the BRICS. The BRICS are the major countries of the world, period, but they're also the major countries of the world outside of the U.S. alliance. And if they stand together for the principles of the UN Charter, international law, staying in treaties, being responsible, that is extraordinarily powerful. It's safety for India. It's a natural kind of leadership for India. It is a way to security for India. And that is how I would basically recommend things. I do believe, I have to say, that India and China can and should resolve the bilateral issues. I believe that the common aims of India and China to have a peaceful, multipolar world in which those countries, your country and China, are not bullied or attempted to be bullied by the United States is a strong common interest. Now that the United States is ripping up the UN Charter, there's an even stronger common interest that the other 192 member states of the UN say, no, you can't rip up the UN Charter. This is what's keeping us safe. This is what is allowing us to address global issues. I say to my friends in China all the time, champion India's membership in the UN Security Council as the sixth permanent member. We need India, which is a great power, which is the world's most populous country, which is the world's fastest growing major economy. We need India as a permanent member of the Security Council. I want China to make that gesture because I want to resolve the bilateral challenges also so that we really move to a multipolar world. And the U.S. finally gets the message. You're 4% of the world population. You can thrive, you can use your successes, but you're 4% of the world population, and you can't dictate to the rest of the 96%.
The Quad, I think Trump in his first tenure would have liked it to be a military alliance. India does not do alliances. But over time, through the Biden years and now Trump's second term, the Quad is seen to be a sort of countervailing force to China without being an alliance. You are arguing that India should not be in the Quad, is from what I understand.
Yes.
So let my last question be on India and China. To those in India who would say there is a border conflict or disagreement at the very least with China, there is a sense that China is a patron of an adversarial nation like Pakistan, that China is also invested in some of the other immediate countries in our neighborhood, and therefore India can't trust China. So how do we mend relations with China? You would say what? And do you actually think India should walk out of the Quad?
I do think India should not be part of the Quad because India should not be part of a group that is explicitly and overtly anti-China. India should be finding ways to address the challenges of China. If you actually go back to the border disputes, which are serious, of course, because they've led to war, they originate in lines drawn on maps by the British, such as the McMahon Line drawn in 1914. The British left lots of mischief in this world. This should be what two absolutely great countries and civilizations and superpowers overcome is Mr. McMahon, who was a middle-level military official in 1914 with a long story, but not one that should be determining the fate of the relations between the two greatest nations in the world in the 21st century that constitute almost 40% of humanity. I want China to support India in the UN Security Council. For me, that's a litmus test also. I want to say to China, as I do all the time, your interest is a strong India. It is not India as a foe, but India as a strong, developed partner and a trading partner and a technology partner and a security partner in the context of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and so on. So I would like both countries to put aside the hostilities and the idea that there is an irreparable harm, to go back to the origins, which is Britain, in fact, and the U.S. continues to try the same playbook, and to say we can do better than this. I regard the BRICS as a real opportunity. I very much like the BRICS because the BRICS are saying to the Western world, your Western-led imperialism is over. We are half the world population, and with the partners more than that. And we want a multilateral world. And no, Mr. Miller, the deputy chief of staff of Mr. Trump, you are wrong. The world is not run by power or by power alone. The world is run by principle, and we stand for principles. So to my mind, when I'm asked every day, will this mean, Trump's behavior mean that Russia will grab what it wants and China will grab what it wants? I hope the answer is exactly the opposite, that the other superpowers of the world say this is not the world we want, and it's not the world we're going to make, and that the BRICS puts forward positive solutions. One of them, by the way, that I would really urge, I would like a very large UN campus in India and a very large UN campus in China. One of the reasons is the United States may well announce one day we're out of the UN. Just this week, the United States walked out of 31 UN organizations. The US has gone out of its way in the last 2 weeks to ridicule the United Nations. I don't know whether the US will stay in the UN, even though it was a brainchild of the United States. But I would like India and China to say, no, this is real. This is 96% of us in the world believe in the UN Charter. And we're going to have a major presence of the UN in our two countries as well, because this is a global institution, not just an institution on the east side of New York City. So this, I think, is also part of what I would do. Find the positive agenda, really press for UN Security Council membership. I'm going to do my bit also, but resolve these old issues in an amicable way, because the real issues that China and India face of economy, of trade, of technology, of safety, of climate change are huge common interests. And the United States should not be allowed to continue the divide and conquer strategy.